I guess this is something how did you get into jujitsu originally?
Yeah, so I was one of those little kids that like it was everything that I watched, whether it was cartoons or movies, as even just like Power Rangers, everything had to be fighting.
Fighting.
Yeah,
Too.
Dragon Ball Z, Jackie Chan, like
Spider-Man, X-Men,
everything was
all the
fighting.
things. That
Yeah,
was me. Yeah.
and I grew up in a small town in a farm in Northeast Missouri in Bowling Green, and we didn't have any. There was no wrestling, there was no martial arts, there was no nothing. So it was just me watching whatever I was into as a little kid, beating up my little brother, getting boxing gloves, stuff like that. And then as I got older, C came around. I was watching that, and George St. Pierre was like my idol. And yeah, I mean, I played football, so we would all like wrestle each other and beat each
Sure.
other up. And you get in street fights and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, so I had a friend, Steven, who actually reached out recently. He's wanted to get back into jiu-jitsu. But I had a friend who we would watch UFC and any jujitsu material that we could get our hands on and just like practice, like his living room and my living
Just
room.
like on the carpet.
Yeah, just like try to figure it out. There just wasn't, we didn't have access to anything back then. And then one day he reached out. I don't even think I could drive yet. I think he was 16, just got his driver's license. And he's like, hey, I found a jiu-jitsu school. It's in Troy, Missouri, which was 30 minutes away. Let's go. I think we went to an actual class that was followed by an open mat. And I can't even remember the guy's name off the top of my head. This is kind of rude, but I'll think of it. But I think it was a black belt way back then. So I would have been,
Yeah. So what year was
this would have
this
been
then?
2015, or no, 2005.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it was my first jiu-jitsu class. Now,
Black belts were like unicorns back then.
for sure. Yeah. And he might not have been. I had a lot of concussions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows what he was? He could have been a blue belt. I don't know. But so I went in there, football player, had been weightlifting since middle school, was decently strong, thought I could fight, thought I was tough. And I wasn't at all. Went in there. He taught us one choke. I think it was just like a basic head and arm choke from mount or side control or somewhere. And then we all just jumped into open mat. And it was just me and my buddy and then the instructor and then like a kid who was younger than me. And when you're in high school, anybody younger than you should be able to beat up. That's the rules. That's the unwritten rule of life.
Yeah.
That was not the case. So I like, all right, I'm going to show this guy what I got. The instructor get on top and he's laying there on his back with his eyes closed, breathing through his nose. And I'm huffing and puffing. I'm getting nowhere, of course. And he just submits me a bunch. And I was like, okay, interesting. That felt like magic. That was weird. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go beat this scrawny kid over here. And then he beat the shit out of me. And so I think what I always tell like new students when they have that experience is like, it's one of two things. Either you're going to go, all right, I'm never doing that again. Like I'm never going to let that happen to me again. Or you go, okay, I want to be able to do that to somebody someday. Like that, I want to do that. And that was me. Like I didn't have any money at the time though. So like going back and like signing up for a membership, I didn't even drive. You know what I mean? 30 minutes away when you're in high school is like
Forever.
it's a lot. Yeah. Especially when you live out in the country and whatever. But, so it was just in the back of my mind, just forever. Right. And so we even started like a little fight club in high school. We made t-shirts. Like we had all had boxing gloves. We had shin guards. Like we would all just like hold little like matches out in the yard, usually in the yard.
In the yard?
Yeah. We call it Frankfurt Fight Club. Shout out FFC. So anyways, it was always in the back of my mind, but I ended up going a different path. Just didn't have wrestling, right? So ended up playing football and then hated it. Hated it in college. Played at a small school.
So you played all 4 years in high school or
middle school, high school. Yep.
Okay.
And then I played at Central Methodist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know you went and played college football.
Yeah. I wasn't good enough to be there, I don't think.
What position did you play?
I was supposed to be in there as a running back, but they switched up the coaching staff and switched to more of just like a spread offense. And so I was catching little slants and stuff like that. Yeah, stuff which I sucked at catching the ball. So anyway, I was kind of miserable playing football and I really wanted to train. MMA was more my thing back then, like as far as what I was interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be an MMA fighter and I wanted to switch to my degree to get into like strength conditioning, exercise science. And I wanted to fight in MMA and I wanted to be like an MMA strength and conditioning coach. That was the path that I went down, even though it kind of a made up thing back then.
And what were you doing?
What I wanted to do
before?
Athletic training, which is kind of like physical therapy and first aid for like the athletes, like the people who were on the field. Like
taping up ankles.
You snap your shoulder, throwing the baseball, boom, they're out there helping you, or they're in the rehab room, doing all that stuff, traveling with the team. So turns out I was really squeamish.
Really?
Shouldn't have been out there. Shouldn't have been doing that. Yeah, shouldn't have been sitting around
I
waiting
would
for
not have
injuries.
guessed that.
Yeah.
Of all the times you cranked my limbs into every direction.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's different. So
seeing the aftermath.
Yeah.
So
It's the
I don't know.
aftermath. Yeah, usually tap so you don't snap it.
I've told this story before, but I really had this like one moment where I was really miserable. Everything felt wrong about my major, people I was spending time with. I wasn't meeting new people. It was all just people from high school, in college. Everything just felt wrong. And I remember one night being on the football field, just looking up into the stands, and like none of my family was there to watch me play. And I didn't want to be there playing. I was like, yeah, they're proud of me
Sure.
that I'm doing this, but like, nobody really, like, I have to live my life every single day.
And I don't like it.
Yeah. And yeah, so I switched to a school. I didn't know anybody. I switched majors. I started training MMA and like Japanese jiu-jitsu. It was no-gi. Turns out, yeah, the instruction was not very good. But so what happened was I started learning exercise science and strength conditioning and all that stuff. And I meet Jose Vega, who was a Bellator fighter at the time, pro fighter. And we did like an exchange of services where I would do his like personal training 2 days a week literally in the basement gym of our dorm.
Oh.
So he would commute over and do that with me. And then he taught me like MMA at the gym that I was training at. He'd come in and like almost like as a special guest and like just take me one-on-one, have me hold the mitts, teach me the wrestling, the jiu-jitsu and everything. So
that was like your first real like formal training other than
for sure
your buddies.
Yep. And I would just do it when I could afford it. Do a semester here, semester there. Ended up doing one MMA fight like my senior year. I won, retired undefeated. No big deal, everybody. Yeah, 90 seconds of cage time.
Would you submit him?
No. My coach didn't want me to. He knew I like it's funny looking back thinking like, oh, I was a good grappler. I wasn't. I wasn't even a white belt, right? I was nothing.
Yeah.
It was made up. So it's funny looking back thinking that I was good on the ground. But the plan was like, you can take this guy there. Like, let's stand with him. So it's just horrible. Like, it was like a roadhouse bar with a cage in it. Horrible.
Sounds like fun, though.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun. But then, like, it's one of those things where the guy you're supposed to fight and you've been training for just cancels last minute.
Yeah.
And then they get some guy in basketball shorts like, hey, he's out smoking a cigarette. Like, yeah, I'll fight.
I'll fight. Yeah.
It was like that. It was like that 1 day notice. So this guy has not been preparing. I'm like,
yeah, you've been
tracking my
dialed in
macros.
for,
I'm doing the weight cut. I'm doing the water loading. I'm doing all the stuff. And then, so I jump in there with this guy, and no, I didn't. I just threw strikes, and I was obviously freaked out.
Sure,
As soon as they locked that
terrifying,
cage. Yeah, it's
yeah.
horrible. I'm glad I did it, but I was really scared and really, really scared. And so all of my training just went out the window. It's like blacked out, and I just started throwing flying knees. The video does exist. It's on my mother's Facebook. She likes to share it every like 5 years. It's super. It looks like it was filmed on a potato. It's super blurry, but so I go out there, I panic. I just start throwing flying knees. That's why Kyle sometimes jokes and he calls me Skip Knee Ratzky.
Okay, I thought that was like for the expats you always do.
No. I connect with this guy and I wanted him off me because he was like trying to hit me. So I just threw him on the ground, like muscled him on the ground. He got back up and then I just start throwing knees with no setup from like further than me and you away, like knee to the wall, flying. I've never learned this in my life. I don't know.
Just started.
It was just
jumping at him.
It was in me, and so I connected several of those, and then one put him into the cage, and he just collapsed over, and I
Followed
threw
up some
another.
strikes.
No, I threw another knee right, right in the ribs from a good 8 feet away. Just
ran at him flying,
and then that put him down, and then I just started hitting him, and then I won, and that was it. And I never did it again. Moved to St. Louis, and I kind of realize about you meet enough MMA fighters to know that like most of them are just fucking crazy and have no care for their own well-being, which is good. I admire that, but I do care a lot. I really didn't want to get hurt. I already had multiple concussions from car wrecks and who knows what else.
Football.
Yeah. And so I was like, even if I do good, I'm not that great of an athlete. I'm really not. So I knew even if I get into MMA, it's going to be a few years. I'm going to get okay. And then I'm going to quit. And I'm going to be beat up. So I was like, I started jiu-jitsu. I was like, I can do this forever. I actually started at Gracie Baja, the first one in St. Louis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where was that at?
I was one of the founding members in O'Fallon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was personal training, started jiu-jitsu, just gi, did like 6 months. And then I moved down to the city and I worked in a gym where Kyle Watson in the same building.
Because you were in the lab, you were at the lab, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then
So I'd
And
work
Kyle
downstairs
was
and I'd
above
go
there.
upstairs and train jiu-jitsu during the day.
Okay.
So-
And then you and Kyle just kind of became didn't it like turn out to be? I've heard the story before where you guys kind of like traded services essentially.
Yep. Same thing as the MMA guy in college.
Yeah.
And what's funny is when I was moving down to the city, I was looking for a gym and I happened to find that job posting for that gym. And then I found Watson's place and I was like, man, it'd be really cool. Like he fought in the UFC.
Yeah.
And
George
GSP was my
I was
idol.
gonna say you said GSP was
Yeah.
your idol earlier. Yeah.
So I'm looking at that and I don't even think I've ever told Kyle this. He'll listen and he'll laugh. But I think I literally looked and I was like, man, it'd be really cool to go be his student and like train him for strength and conditioning. Right. Because that was still kind of something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it worked out. I just was trained and then eventually like kind of, became buddy. And then he knew that I worked downstairs, sees me all the time. So yeah, he pitched that and then I would train him. And then I just got like a free membership at that point. That was like the thing.
The deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I just never ever left.
Yeah. And then here you are 3 gyms later,
Yeah. And eventually, because of that relationship and how much time we spent one-on-one, became good friends. He's like my best friend / dad / older brother. He's like and mentor and boss. And like, he's all these things, my coach,
right,
all in one, which is awesome. And then somewhere around blue belt, we had a lot of interest in like a 6 a.m. class and I was an early bird as is. So he asked if I wanted to do it. And I was at that point, like really had bad social anxiety, like crippling social anxiety to the point where like, I almost didn't go into this industry at all because on the one hand, yes, I wanted to help people, but on the other hand, to help people, you got to talk to people and interact with them. And like, I don't know, just wanted to avoid that. But like deep down, it's like, okay, want this, you're gonna have to deal with this. And teaching jiu-jitsu was like that. Like, yeah, I want that more than anything. So
got to figure this out.
Start it.
Yeah.
Got to stand up in front of people and lead a class.
Terrifying.
Pussy.
Yeah.
Like,
Dude,
go do it.
I remember, I shadowed you for like 1 or 2 classes before I taught my own, but that first class that I was going in to teach, because I taught Kyle's basics class upstairs for about 2.5 years before we had our second kid. And, I was just terrified. I was like, God, and I'm a blue belt, I was like, I feel like I'm not qualified.
That imposter syndrome.
Sure. It's like it's terrifying.
Who am I to teach?
Why? Well, I don't know that much. I get beat up all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess I know more than these brand new white belts, I guess, because I can beat them up.
So I definitely felt that. But now looking back, it's like no one remembers any of those classes. They were dog shit, probably. And what made it worse at the time for me? Josh McKinney often took them.
Wait, he took
my classes.
Oh,
because
where was he at that time? What level?
Probably purple.
Yeah.
He,
probably like high purple and just killing everybody, including me for my whole life. So him and Adam Arbutter would train jiu-jitsu 6 a.m. and we'd go out to coffee like every Tuesday, Thursday. It was super fun. We all got super close and traveled and competed and stuff. But yeah, so having him there at the time, he wasn't a black belt yet, but he was still like, he was Josh McKinney.
Yeah.
He knew way more than me, but he was always really nice and like didn't shit on me or be like, no, you said that dumb or you did, it's helpful. They both were.
Right.
So
Josh is, I feel like he's just a great coach and he's a great, he's just the way he teaches, I think is awesome.
Yeah.
I look up to Josh a ton.
Yeah, for sure. He's an animal. So yeah, and I've just been kind of doing that ever since. I've at different periods of the year taught more, taught less. Now I'm at a stage I just teach the 3 days a week, do privates here and there, and that's it, really.
So were you one of Kyle's first black belts that he had?
No, I'm not sure where I fall into that. It would be what Mike
6 or
Allen,
7,
Josh, at least
Steve McKinney,
at least 4 before me, I think, if not more.
Mike Allen, Josh, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get yours?
I was gonna say I feel like you might be. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I should know this, but I really struggle. Like if you're like, hey, what year was it when you did that? I'm like, I don't know.
I
But
get hit in the head a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. I just got my instructor bars. If that means anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So years now, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
So I can remember when I got married and when my son was born. At this point, that's all that matters.
Right. Yeah, me too.
So, but yeah, I guess I've been teaching that whole time, and yeah, it is funny now. Like I can go teach a seminar with 30, 40, 50 people and like not
Not be worried about it.
Not feel nervous at all.
You just get better at shit. Just kind of like we were talking about before the show, kind of you're starting to, I mean, you've done a lot of stuff on social media in the past, but now you've been over the last few weeks, I feel like you've been really dialing it in and being really consistent.
Yeah.
And just the more, we were just saying, the more, just like anything else, just like fitness, just like jiu-jitsu, just like whatever, you can slowly get better at things over time. It just takes effort and consistency.
Yeah. And jiu-jitsu, it's funny. Jiu-jitsu is funny because like there's all these life principles that you hear or you read, people tell you, but like they don't get in you until you do stuff. And then like you experience it, like really know it, the principle of life, whatever it is, like that. And then you get it. And then you can apply it to other stuff. Like jiu-jitsu, like learning jiu-jitsu was a framework. Just like now I feel like I can go learn anything, but you got to be interested in whatever you're going to go learn. Right. I always use people like the example of like, think of any like bowling or anything like that, where you got to be really interested. Like you can go learn it. You guys can both become, I don't know if you bowl, but you could, if you really like were really into it and you just dedicated like a couple of years to like, all right, you're going to study bowling books. You're going to get on YouTube. You're going to hire an instructor or a teacher. Yeah. And you're going to go bowl like multiple times a week instead of once every 2 years. Like most people do.
That's what I do.
You could get really, really good at it for sure. Are you going to get good in comparison to good people?
Class?
No, but
not.
Who cares? Right?
You're
going to get
way better around St. Louis. Right. Take their money.
Yeah. It's always one of those things. It's like, okay, if I got in a time machine and I went back like in jiu-jitsu and I just had a street fight with myself, I walked up behind myself, pushed him, hey, let's fucking go. I could still, there's no point I can't go back and beat myself up. And like, that's like, for me, the ultimate measuring stick, just like anything else. It's like, yeah, you're not going to, like, I've always been kind of mediocre at everything, like a lot of things. I was never like a standout athlete or all that smart or anything, but yeah, you can get, as long as you're better than you were previously, like that's really what matters, just progress. And that's what I love. Kyle's tagline, the art of improvement.
Yeah, it's such a great,
like
I love that line.
It's kind of all that I'm much more focused on that now than I am like goal focused nowadays, like much more process focused. Like I just enjoy learning and getting better. And like jiu-jitsu is so slow, like to get where you want to be.
Building a mountain out of
it's like a decade. So now I can, pick something like social media and I go, okay, like once I just start it and commit to doing it, like, okay, I'm going to do it X amount of times a week minimum. Here's my ceiling. Here's my floor on my frequency, and just do it, learn. And in 5 years, I'll probably be it'll get me somewhere. I'll be really good at it. But yeah, got to be willing, like that discomfort, have a willingness towards that discomfort for like maybe a really long time. And again, I might not ever be as good as people who are good at social media, but I'll be way better than Trevor was in 2024.
Sure.
That's all that matters.